All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show. We were supposed to hear Bernie Sanders, so if I could talk like Larry David, imitating George Steinbrenner on Seinfeld, I would sound exactly like Bernie Sanders. As a matter of fact, here's what I mean. All right, let's forget the clip because that's not working. So let's go to our friend Dick Morris, political consultant, Newsmax contributor, author of Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation. Hello, Dick.
Hey, Steve, I can sound like me. Is that okay?
That's fine. But if you think about it, if you watch Seinfeld, Dick, he does sound a little bit, Sanders does like Larry David. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So you wrote a great piece talking about the fact that Bernie Sanders is, in fact, gaining some momentum.
Yeah, he sure is. It's very exciting to watch. He was at 4% of the vote in the Quinnipiac poll in March. And then in April, he was at 8. And then in the end of May, he was at 15. And that kind of progression is really incredible.
And to what do you attribute it to? To what his message is, appealing to the left of the Democratic Party, or to Hillary and her shortfalls?
I think it's the appeal to the left, Steve. He is running against Hillary like a liberal Democrat should, not like a Republican would. If you go against Hillary and beat her up on emails and Benghazi and the Clinton Foundation and foreign money, you're going to score very well with independent voters, who are the swing voters in the November election. But Democratic primary voters aren't going to pay attention. They're going to say, you're criticizing our nominee in November. So this is just a partisan battle, and I got to side with Hillary, even though I think what she did stinks. But if you go after Hillary ideologically, you run against Wall Street and her connections. You go against the free trade agreement she negotiated. You go against her decision not to go with single payer on health care. You go against her instinctive reaction about send home the foreign immigrant kids that showed up on our doorstep. Hit her on left-right issues. And she's not going to reply. She's not going to move to the left because she's afraid she'll get hit in November with what she's saying now. And it'll take a while before she convinces herself that Sanders is serious. And in the meantime, you've got a free shot on goal. And that's just what Sanders is taking, and it's the perfect strategy.
Well, you asked the question in your column near the end, will 1968 resurrect itself in 2016? Of course, talking about Eugene McCarthy, and can that role now be played by Bernie Sanders? I think that's a very interesting question and an interesting analogy.
And the role of Bobby Kennedy might be played by Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah. Do you see that? Well, hasn't
Elizabeth Warren? Like Bobby Kennedy, Elizabeth Warren keeps saying, I'm not going to run, not going to run, not going to run. But then when McCarthy got in, and everybody said he has no chance, and he got 43% of the vote in the New Hampshire primary, everybody said, oh my God, Johnson can be defeated. Then Bobby abandoned his previous disclaimers, jumped into the race, and 2 weeks later, Johnson pulled out.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I was just going to say again, I was going to play into what you just said, and that is that she keeps saying she's not going to run, and I don't remember exactly, but something just closed down. Whether she officially closed down, some kind of campaign element or possible element, or some group that was supporting her closed down. But that kind of indicated to a lot of people, at least, that this was like the death knell on her running. But as you say, not necessarily.
Yes, Steve, you also have to bear in mind the role being played behind the scenes by the Obama administration. Obama has yet to support Hillary. When he's asked, he says, not yet, and none of his people have. And when she's getting attacked for stuff that she did at the State Department, none of the surrogates are jumping up and defending her. You don't hear Axelrod, you don't hear Valerie Jarrett, you don't hear Obama himself. You barely even hear the press secretary. And that means they're killing her with silence. And I think what Obama is basically doing is waiting for somebody to be effective challenging Hillary. to make her vulnerable enough to get Warren into the race, and then move all of Obama's financial resources behind her, behind Warren. Because Obama regards Hillary as too likely to move to the center and doesn't feel she's going to continue his legacy.
Yeah, no, very good point. What about OMalley and today, of course, Chafee entered the race? What about those two? Any role whatsoever in this whole scenario, in your view?
Well, let's see how they run. You have to you look at Sanders is doing it masterfully.
Yeah, well, of course, it's
ultimately what's important here is not how much each of them have, but how much Hillary has. And she's dropped from the 80s to 57 in the Democratic primary. If combined they can bring her under 50 and down around 40, they're bringing her back to earth. And it doesn't much matter which one of them is doing it. But Sanders has waged a uniquely brilliant campaign.
Well, he's from Brooklyn. That probably counts a little bit. Dick, always great to talk to you, sir. And, of course, folks, don't forget to purchase Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation, Dick's best seller. Dick, great to speak to you. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure. Up next, folks, we're going to be joined by Edward Luce, an interview that we did yesterday from the Financial Times. He has a lot of interesting things to say. You're not going to want to miss that interview. And Dick, by the way, is so right. It doesn't matter who the person is. He's talking about Bernie Sanders, who's been doing a pretty good job. But, of course, you know, I wonder if it was Hillary's camp that leaked the rape fantasy story. We may never know. Edward Luce is next. Don't go away.